Joining us right now is Carla Babb from Voice of America. She is a Pentagon correspondent. She's live there, and she's there to talk about the historic end to the war in Afghanistan. Carla, always welcome to BNC Live. You're at the Pentagon right now. Can you just tell us briefly what the mood is there?
There's a lot of disappointment here at the Pentagon today. A lot of people are wondering, what's next? A lot of people are having to face veterans who couldn't get their interpreters, their translators, their drivers. They couldn't get them out. They couldn't get their interpreters' family members out. Their families separated right now. There are a lot of veterans that fought and lost people who are wondering whether or not it was worth it. And so there's no high-fiving. This is not a celebration that the war is over for certain. That's not what we're seeing here at the Pentagon. It's a very somber mood here.
And Carla, there were reports that the U.S. left Afghanistan several hours ahead of that deadline. What do you know about this?
Well, we've been told by military officials speed is safety this entire time, and they did not want to give the Taliban the exact moment that they were leaving. They did not do that. They signaled to them about certain things that were happening, but the exact timeline, General Frank McKenzie said, remained with the Americans. And I think they wanted to get out. They waited as long as they felt they could to get out. And we did learn that no American citizens came out other than the State Department personnel that they had in the airport already helping to process visas. And the U.S. Military personnel came out, but no U.S. citizens came out that last day. They were able to get about 1,500 Afghans out on those last flights the last day, but it was just a horrible security situation. I'm being told there were active threats going on. You saw some of the active threats playing out over the last few days. You saw that there was a bomb by Islamic State. They killed 13 U.S. service members. More than 100 Afghans were killed. You saw that the United States military took out a vehicle-borne bomb, IED as we say here, and that resulted in subsequent explosions that killed Afghans as well. So it was just becoming a more and more tense situation. And so they decided to wait to the minute before midnight of August 31st and pulled out.
And Carla, you mentioned that there were no high fives being given today, basically recognizing that the war is over. What are the long-term implications for the Biden administration and, more importantly, the United States?
Well, that's something that's going to be parsed out over the next days. What we do know here, the United States military has reminded the American people yesterday that there weren't any 9/11 attacks afterwards. The United States military did complete their mission of keeping the U.S. safe, the U.S. homeland safe from al-Qaeda attacks. That did happen. The United States military did get Osama bin Laden. Where they failed, where the entire U.S. government failed, even though they threw over $1 trillion, even though their military trained hundreds of thousands of Afghans, they failed in getting a government and a military that could defeat the Taliban. They collapsed in a matter of days and weeks as the United States military was pulling out. And that failure is what we're seeing today. And that failure is what's hurting so bad, because even with a finite timeline to evacuate, even something as simple as getting every American out, which I should say actually is not that simple, but even with a mission to get every single American out, they couldn't complete that in the final days. They ran out of time, and the U.S. military acknowledged that as well. I'm actually speaking with one of the best friends of an American woman in Afghanistan right now. She tried to get to the airport. She could not get past the Taliban checkpoints. She's 3 months pregnant. She's panicking right now. And so the next step in the short term will be trying to get these Americans and at-risk Afghans out through other means that we will keep following. The State Department says that they're going to help. We're just going to have to keep and watch and see how that plays out. And then past that, the United States military now has to do a counter-terror program to watch all of these terrorists in Afghanistan. And let's not forget that in Afghanistan and Pakistan, in that area, there are 20 terror groups that do not like the United States. Now the military is going to have to watch them from afar. And they're going to have to do what they call over-the-horizon strikes and over-the-horizon capabilities in order to see these groups. So it's going to be a very difficult mission moving forward.
Carla, are you basically saying that Afghanistan could possibly become a breeding ground for terror groups?
Well, right now, there's no guarantee that it will not. The United States has been forced during this evacuation to work with the Taliban. The Taliban has not kept its commitments that it promised the United States. When there was a peace agreement with the United States and the Taliban, remember, the Taliban said it would not strike U.S. forces. It kept that word. But it also said that it would work towards a peace agreement with the Afghans, which it did not do in earnest. And it also said that it would break with al-Qaeda, which it did not do in earnest. Al-Qaeda is still very much linked. There are reports coming out right now that a top al-Qaeda leader that was around with Osama bin Laden has returned to the country. So clearly they did not keep up with what they're going to say. And so now the United States has to depend on them leading a government and potentially working with them to try to stop these terror groups. So yes, we very much could see Afghanistan return to the state where it could be a safe haven for terrorists. And the military now has a very difficult mission to prevent that from happening.
Carla, outside of the fact that Afghanistan could become a breeding ground for terror, what else are you hearing that U.S. officials are concerned with after leaving Afghanistan?
Well, of course, U.S. officials are concerned that the gains that were made over the last 20 years will be erased. The Taliban is a very ultra-conservative group that many of its people do not believe that women should be educated. They do not believe that women should go out in public without being completely covered, even their face covered. There are all of these things, these gains that the Afghans have made that they are worried will be gone in a flash, in an instant. And then there's also the concern of all of these Afghans who helped the Americans in their cause, be it to fighting the Taliban and be it, trying to bring democracy and human rights into this country. Those people who are still left in Afghanistan, and there are a lot of them still left in Afghanistan, they're potentially in danger right now. And the United States told them, if you work with us, we'll get you out, we'll protect you. And that message became, we'll try to get you out. And then clearly for thousands to tens of thousands, they were not evacuated. And now they're very scared that they have somebody in control that could terrorize them on a daily basis. So I think that the U.S. military and the U.S. government are very focused on what's going to happen to these people and how they'll either get out or how they can continue to live their lives with a new government, a new Taliban government in place.
Carla, let's continue this conversation after the break. I want to show our viewers the last U.S. soldier to leave Afghanistan. This is General Major, they'll play that video for you, Major General Chris Donahue, who commands the 82nd Airborne. This is the last person, the last U.S. soldier on the ground there in Afghanistan. We'll be right back. You're watching BNC Live. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing Afghanistan 20 years later. Many have criticized the Biden administration's handling of the withdrawal efforts from that country, while others have actually praised the military evacuation as being heroic. So, as the nation's longest war comes to an end, how will this chapter in America's history be remembered?
The historians will write they'll write the chapters here. What I can tell you is that we prevented Afghanistan from ever becoming a safe haven for an attack on the United States again. And in the process, U.S. forces, coalition forces, our NATO allies, and our Afghan partners made a lot of progress in that country. Progress which is now going to be up to the Taliban to see whether they're willing to continue or not. They have made promises, and now the United States government, the international community are going to hold them accountable to those promises.
All right, here to talk about those promises, Carla Babb. She's the Voice of America, also a Pentagon correspondent. She's back with us. Now, Carla, I want to talk about veterans, care and disability. Now, on top of the $2 trillion that was spent in this war, a study by Brown University reporting it will cost the U.S. $437 billion to cover veterans' care and disability over the next 40 years. Can you talk about the long-term impacts for veterans as well as our economy?
Well, clearly this is going to have an impact long-term for veterans, and it already has. You had scores of veterans who were injured in Afghanistan that are receiving treatment. And this moment in time has really affected the mental health of some veterans. There are veterans groups that are calling out and making resources available to people who are feeling conflicted about this. I mean, the top general who oversaw this withdrawal told reporters yesterday that he was conflicted. He served in Afghanistan. His son served in Afghanistan. And to see it end like this, where it started, the United States came in 2001 and ousted the Taliban. 20 years later, nearly 20 years later, we're just weeks away, the Taliban's back in power. That is hard to deal with for many veterans, and it's going to be a process that their government needs to be there for them, many veterans groups say. So it'll be up to journalists like myself to try to keep that accountability there, to give them what they need, the resources that they need. But I think one of the most conflicting parts of this, that from military officials and veterans that I've spoken to, is that this is the United States as a country. It's their war. The U.S. military did not lose this war. The U.S., the people, the citizens were tired of this war. This war went on for 20 years. A lot of citizens completely forgot or barely even knew that we were in and didn't know how many troops that we had in Afghanistan. The U.S. lost so much interest that it put forward two presidential candidates, Trump and Biden, both of whom wanted to get out of Afghanistan. So that's something that the American public will have to look at in the future as well. We wanted out of this war. And so this is what happened. Now, the thing that people will point to most is how we got out of this war. This evacuation, a lot have criticized it as being rushed, as being hasty, as leaving people behind, as causing deaths. The military, I don't think anybody is blaming the military boots on the ground. Those Marines, those U.S. service members that were there, checking each person as they got into the airport, making sure there weren't bombs, looking people in the eye, having to touch them, knowing that they could have a bomb or a gun or something else on them. That was very brave and heroic. And I don't think anybody will look at them and say that that wasn't anything short of heroism. But what we will look at in the future is how we withdrew, what could have been done to make it a smoother process.
Yeah, and for those, Carla, who were actually able to get out, they still leave family, they still leave traditions behind. I mean, that's still home for them. I want you to listen to sound from an interpreter.
They are killing member of family. Right now, they are looking door to door, every city. I'm so sad right now. I'm upset about this situation right now, what's happening in Afghanistan. What happened for those people, they provide faithfully service for US government, for NATO. We need right now help from the government, US government. Our family, now my family think about their self in Afghanistan. What should we do? They lost everything.
And Carla, there are thousands of stories like that of people who lost everything, including the woman that you mentioned, who unfortunately is still stuck in Afghanistan, 3 months pregnant.
Oh, yes. And I mean, I have two interpreters that I spoke to just a few days ago who came over in June. They were trying to get their family members over. They thought they had time. They were trying to raise the money. They had all the SIV, the special immigrant visa paperwork completed for their family members, and they couldn't get them all in. It's heartbreaking. And when I was speaking to him, and when Voice of America was speaking to him, he said, as a father, I just want to get them safe. And now the devastation that these people are having to go through with separated families, losing everything. Another one of my colleagues interviewed a citizen who got in, but his wife that he had just married was left behind. They got separated in the crowd. These are heartbreaking times for everybody. This is something that cannot just be a bullet point in time and then gets forgotten about. I think that the historians are trying to prevent that and saying we need to find what's happening next, not just for the country of Afghanistan, because that will be important, but for these individuals, these thousands, these tens of thousands of individuals that are either left behind or that got out themselves but have family members and friends left behind. It's going to be a hard, trying time that the United States is going to have to keep staring at and facing it, because something, they're going to have to find the solution to these problems in the coming days for these people.
And Carla, I want to talk about the human cost, which is just immeasurable. That Brown study I mentioned earlier also quoting over 7,000 U.S. service members in war zones, including Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and elsewhere in the Middle East killed, more than 1,100 troops from coalition countries, more than 100,000 Afghan forces and civilians, not to mention 38 million people displaced. When we look back on this war, Carla, nearly 2 decades almost, $2 trillion, what was it all for?
Well, I think that's the question that everybody is looking at now. And as I spoke to a Gold Star wife, Gold Star families are those who lose loved ones in combat. And I spoke to her, and she said, you know, people have been asking me for weeks now, was it worth it? And I say, how dare you ask me, was it worth it, to those people? Because this isn't a question that she needs to ponder on her own. She says, the American people sent my husband to war. When I sent my husband off to war, she says, he wasn't just mine, he was America's. And he would happily die for his country 1,000 times over. And she said she would gladly send her husband there 1,000 times over. But the American people have to ask, was it worth it? It shouldn't be on the weight should not be all on her shoulders, she says. And it was just a very powerful moment, because that's true. She's been thinking about it for the 10 years that he's been gone. He died in September of 2011. And so now the American people, they need to reflect and say, was it worth it? Because it should not be the people who lost their loved ones that have to ponder it alone, like she said.
Absolutely. It's just heartbreaking to think about what they are going through as we all look back on the 20 years that we've spent in Afghanistan. Carla Babb, Voice of America, Pentagon correspondent, thank you for joining us on BNC Live. Always a pleasure having you and your insight.